Yeah, I know.
Thank you. Do we have prelim and exam dates?
I do not. I can look for you.
All right, we'll go on the record at this time. Are you ready?
Yep.
This is file 2107109, People versus Braden Alexander Black. Please state your full name, sir.
Braden Alexander Black.
You'll need to speak louder so we can pick you up on the recorder. State your full name again. Okay, do you currently have a mailing address?
No.
What is your date of birth?
December 19th, 2003.
Mr. Black, the complaint filed by the state charges that on or about July 16, 2021 in the city of Manistee, Schoolcraft County, Michigan, in count 1, you did assault, batter, wound, resist, obstruct, or oppose or endanger Sergeant Kevin Smith, a police officer of the Manistee City Police Department, that you knew or had reason to know was performing his duties contrary to law. That's a felony known as resisting and obstructing a police officer. It carries a maximum punishment of up to 2 years in the state's prison and or a fine of up to $2,000. Do you understand that charge and the possible maximum penalties?
Yes.
Count 2 charges on the same date and location. You did enter or break into a 1997 GMC truck, a motor vehicle, to steal or unlawfully remove property therefrom of a value of less than $200 contrary to law. That is a misdemeanor known as breaking and entering a vehicle with intent to steal. It carries a maximum punishment of up to 93 days in the county jail and or a fine of up to $500 or 3 times the value of the property stolen, whichever is greater. DNA identification profiling samples would be obtained from you. Do you understand that charge and the possible maximum penalties?
Yes.
To that charge, you have the right to have a lawyer represent you. If you want one and you cannot afford one, the court would appoint one at public expense. Are you requesting court-appointed lawyer?
Yes.
Okay, please fill out the application for court-appointed attorney, and the court will appoint the Schoolcraft County Public Defender's Office to represent you. It'll be your obligation to stay in contact with your lawyer just as if you hired them. Also, you have a right to have a preliminary examination where it must be shown that a crime was committed and that probable cause exists to charge you with the crime. We'll schedule the probable cause conference and the preliminary examination as soon as the schedule permits pursuant to statutory requirements. Also, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. I'll consider bond at this time. I note the defendant does not have an address, so that's a concern of the court.
It is, Your
Ms.
Honor.
Denholm?
I contacted both of his parents, and neither one of them is able to offer him housing at this time, and so I'll continue to work at that. That's something they're also working on, and I expect to have it in shortly. So perhaps a bond could be issued that would be subject to having verifiable housing. In addition to that, Mr. Black is a very young man. He's just 17 years of age. This is his first contact with the criminal justice system. He has no history, even as a juvenile. He had been living with his father and working with his father in their family logging business. It appears that he has been attending school, that there's just, I think what we're seeing is I guess I could say, somewhat typical 17-year-old kind of parental conflicts that have led him to be homeless, in the sense that it's easy to be homeless in the summer in the UP. I don't think it's something that's going to continue. I think it's something that will be resolved. I would note that even though he's charged with resisting arrest, what we have here is a situation in which he and the other young men involved simply ran away from the officers when the officers confronted them, and there was no conflict, there was no violence. The property that was contacted was going into vehicles that were unlocked, so there was no property damage involved. In short, there was no violence involved in any of these offenses. And so I think that, I would ask that the court set a low bond because he has no assets of his own, and make his release conditional upon verifiable housing and following the regular rules of a bond, as well as the rules of his parents if he lands in one of their houses.
All right. Well, the court is concerned that there's no way to contact the defendant for court notices and proceedings. The court at this time, subject to modification, is going to set the bond at $50,000, 10%. There'll be conditions: no use of intoxicants or illicit controlled substances. Defendant must test free of any controlled substances or marijuana to be released. And the defendant must have a mailing address or residence. I will consider lowering that, though, when the bond conditions can be met. So feel free to rebring a motion on bond at any time, Ms. Denholm. I'm just concerned that if we release the defendant and we have no way of getting a hold of him for notifying him of the dates and times to be in court, that he will not appear and the case will languish. So at this time, I'll set the bond at that level, but if we can get some stability in this young man's life as far as a place to stay and follow rules of that place, the court will look at reducing it at that time. How long has the defendant's family been residents in Schoolcraft County?
Oh my goodness. I didn't ask his mother that, but I think she's probably more than 10 years.
Mhm.
His mother's name is Amanda Black, and she has resided here in this community. I've had contacts with her in the past. For probably more than 10 years.
Well, if the circumstances change, let the court know. Okay, anything further, Ms. Denholm?
Not in regards to those matters, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll return defendant custody of sheriff at this time. Thank you.
Good.